This is your dose of daily market wisdom with master trader Nick Santiago. Starting from humble beginnings, Nick has been beating the markets for over 2 decades. He shares with you his take on the profitable trades that will have you moving towards financial freedom in no time at all. To see an in-depth review of his track record and much more, go to inthemoneystocks.com. Welcome. This is your daily dose of daily market wisdom with master trader Nick Santiago. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. It's 8/21/23, show 518, and markets trying to rebound a little bit after a tough week, Nick.
Yes, they're trying to rebound, Kerry, and it was a very tough week. And just to remind everybody, last week was options expiration for the month of August, and the markets really came tumbling down, which tells me there were probably a lot of call options bought going into that expiration. So we saw a real good fall last week. And, today the markets are up a little bit. They're trying, but, they're not all that strong. I think everyone is now looking for Fed Chairman Jay Powell to save the day as the central bank pow-wow begins a little bit later this week from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And I think on Friday, Powell is scheduled to give a speech at around 10 o'clock East Coast time. So, his words will move markets. I'll tell you that much, and we'll see what he has to say. But right now, I have to tell you, Kerry, this is going to be an interesting trading week.
Hey, remember that old saying, when E.F. Hutton speaks, everybody listens? Now it's when Powell speaks.
That's right. The old E.F. Hutton commercial. I remember that E.F. Hutton commercial.
That was a great commercial.
It was. When E.F. Hutton speaks, everybody listens, and that's exactly right. Jay Powell will speak this Friday. The markets are kind of getting a little bit beaten up over the past 3 weeks. I've had about 4 or 5% pullback here. So we'll see if they can rebound this week a little bit, and we'll see what kind of setup forms on the charts. But you want to be careful in this environment. The bond market is talking a whole different game out here, and I think that's really what matters. Yields are rising. 10-year note is now sitting at around 4.31%. You make that 4.35%. So it's up even more since I looked at it last. And then a 2-year Treasury note yield is now at 5%. So that's problem territory for Jay Powell, and it's problem territory, in my opinion, for the stock market. I cannot see how he is going to cut rates. In fact, most likely he's got to raise them. Right.
All right. Well, maybe I have a solution for this. What we need here, well, in China, the opposite is happening. They cut rates.
Yes, in China. In fact, we had surprise news came out last night. People's Bank of China lowered it. That's their central bank. They lowered the 1-year prime rate by 10 basis points to 3.45%, while the 5-year rate was left unchanged at 4.20 against expectations for a larger or bigger cut. Bottom line is China has some serious problems right now, and the economy is starting to show what the stock charts have been saying for a while. The markets have been telling me the Chinese market is going lower, and we're starting to see the problems, emerge there, and just hence the charts are always ahead of, the news.
Hey, well, I figured, what? China needs to export their head of the central bank to the United States, because he'll come in and he'll cut rates here, right? And we're importing everything else from China. We might as well get a new Fed chair from there.
You may as well, or you could steal the people from Japan. They're the best in the business at it right now.
So. That's true. That's true. But, the guy who's running China's central bank, probably they'll be arresting any week now, because they'll blame it all on him and all the corruption and theft,
Yeah, he may disappear for a while, but who knows? Maybe he reemerges down the road again. But, when you look at this stuff, you can't make it up. It's stranger than fiction. This is the world we live in. So we just have to, I'm not smart enough to figure any of this stuff out. That's why I have to use charts. And I just continue to try to navigate the best I can. But, the soap opera is unwinding, and it's a global story.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? Hey, so in other news, oil is bouncing back, huh?
Yeah, oil trying to make a comeback. It got hit as well last week. I had told my members around 85 to 85.50 would be a top in oil. So far, that seems to be correct. It looks like oil topped out on August 10th at around $84.89. I think we could be in store for a pullback now, back down to the $75 level. Obviously, oil will not go down in a straight line. It's trying to rebound a little bit today. It had a little bit of a bounce late last week after a pretty big sell-off below 80. So, this is a pretty important area for crude. Ultimately, though, I wouldn't rule out a pullback into that 75 handle at this stage of the game.
All right. Yeah, I would not surprise it's been volatile lately. Hey, so we already talked about yields and, 10-year trading at 435. So gold is pretty flat today.
Yeah, gold actually was higher at the start of the day, and now it's actually, basically flat, maybe a slight bit negative, moving into negative territory, just by like a 1/10 of 1% or less. But silver was started the day out really strong as well today, and that's rolled over a bit as well from what I can see here. So you can see precious metals not acting all that well, and that's probably because of the move in yields. And the dollar is still holding up pretty well right now. Even today, the dollar has a slight gain in place, but the dollar is a bit overbought. So if that does pull back, maybe the precious metals will get a bid. But here's the story with precious metals in a nutshell, Kerry, if I may. If you look at the gold futures chart, it's still remaining above the 200-day moving average. So that's a positive. But if it goes sideways, it'll build a bearish base and it'll go lower. A close below there would definitely be a negative. But the thing about it is, as we get all these central banks doing all of these, cuts, some are doing cuts, others, like our Fed is looking to raise rates perhaps down the road. People are just starting to lose confidence in the whole system. They're losing confidence in government. They're going to start losing. And what are they going to run to eventually? They're going to run to something called a hard asset. And that is gold. That is silver. That is oil. That is nat gas. That is, they want something that people need, people use. And they're not going to be, buying into all of this nonsense out here that is being sold to us on a daily basis.
Hopium.
That's right. That's right. They're going to want hard assets, and that's coming. And, I think people should be aware of that. Hopefully the chart will tell us when that really comes. We saw it in September of 2022 with silver. And again, the silver pattern right now is really nothing more than a pullback for another move. And the next leg up is going to be a major leg.
Yeah, I have no doubt it's coming. It's coming. I've kind of believed this for, decades now, knew this was always going to happen. But in the meantime, it's above its 200-day moving average. So as long as it keeps that for the time being, probably there's not going to be much action there.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I'd love to see precious metals come back in and move lower because everybody wants to buy them cheaper, but there's a floor underneath precious metals. They're not going down, like people talk about. This is the ultimate form of currency. It's the ultimate store of savings. People will much rather have their money in something like a gold coin or a silver coin as opposed to having it in something else out there called fiat. And I think traders should be aware of that. And you're going to see the big leg is not here yet, but it's not far off.
All right. Hey, finally, Bitcoin, you said it looked bad. The charts were bad, and it's down to 26,000.
I just saw it last time we spoke, which was last Wednesday. I said, I just don't like what I'm seeing here. It had too good of a pattern to not make its move. And that had me a little bit in cautious mode, and we talked about it right here. And then all of a sudden, it broke down. And on Friday afternoon at the close, it had what we call a failed pattern. As you know, Kerry, the best moves come from failed moves. I would not touch Bitcoin now. This thing has flunked its test, and now I would just avoid it and probably short it on any bear pattern.
So I sold out my position, rebuilding a little bit at lower prices, but I sold out over 30,000. I think 30, right at 29,998 or something like that.
A great move.
Waiting for the next move.
Yeah, now this next move, though, can be a lot lower. So I would wait and be patient here You know where you can look at it for a trade, in my opinion, from my calculations. I did this Saturday afternoon, so I haven't even told my own membership this yet. But around 21,500 area, that's where you have potential bounce level. So I'd keep that around on the radar. That 21,000 level. There's a bounce area there. Then there's a little gap window right around, I guess, 20,000 on Bitcoin futures. So those are the big levels in the near term. After that, Kerry, goes back to our original forecast from a long time ago, which is 11,000. So be careful here. This is failed patterns on bigger time frames. They could be really, really devastating. Now we'll see how it does when it tests that 20,000 level, because that's really its next big support area.
All right. Well, I think that is it for today. We'll be back on Wednesday. Make sure you go over to Nick's site, inthemoneystocks.com, see how he's done it all these years. And while you're there, look at the Twitter feeds at ITMS, at Nick Santiago 01, at Kerry Lutz. Emails welcome, KL@kerrylutz.com. Write your comments on the YouTube channel below. We'll be back Wednesday. Get to some of them, hopefully. Nick, we'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Sounds good, Kerry.